Howdy, everybody. Going to talk about the Path of Exile 2 0.1.1 patch. Going to go over the patch preview that game director John talks about, and then probably just pause and talk over some of the things that they're doing. I did watch a bit of this already, but I haven't actually sat down to watch this video. I came in late to the stream the other week, Monday, I think, and yeah, we'll see. Sunday.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Well, we're back from our break. We've been playing the game a whole lot and we've been reading a whole lot of feedback as well. So it's time to assess and work out what we're going to do next. Now, later this week we'll be releasing PoE 2 0.1.1. This is a patch designed to address the concerns that we can address relatively quickly, without needing to create a new league or a new economy just yet. In this video we'll be going over some of the issues we've identified and what we're planning on doing about them. It's worth stressing that just because a specific issue isn't on this list doesn't mean that we're not aware of it or that it isn't going to get addressed. It just means that we either can't fix the problem quickly or we can't do so without the need for a new economy. One of the major areas that needs a lot of attention is the base experience of mapping. We've made a lot of changes here. First, in-game maps have received a balance pass to the number of monsters, number of chests, number of magical rare monsters, number of essences, strongboxes and precursor artifacts. You should generally find maps more rewarding than before.
That's good. One, before we talk about that buff to maps, I think he makes a good point in addressing more important fixes to the game before releasing a big content patch, so that the game isn't going to get unbalanced in the middle of a league, despite the fact that it's like early access leagues. I'm playing standard, so I don't really know. But no, I think that's a good point. The question is, in this early access state, are we looking at a standard 13-week Path of Exile league, or are we looking at just like trial and error, 2 to 3 month, maybe 4 to 6 week leagues? I don't know. I'm just a dude. Moving on, I think it's really cool that they are buffing the monster and chest density in maps. That's what this game is about, so let's get more of the things that the game is about in the game.
Maps generally specialize in one or more of these elements that they will be particularly rewarding in. Now, towers are a thing that's very important for players to run often, but we only had one of them. We wanted to add more variety here as soon as possible, so we've added 4 more tower maps.
That's huge. That's big. Towers were boring as hell, and you really only had one. And honestly, when I would get into a tower, I'd just hug the wall until I found the exit, and I would actually save all of my trash maps for towers just so I could run them to clear away viewpoints. Having some variety is nice, so it'll be cool to see what those maps are about. Also, with the increased monster density, it'll be nice to actually have some utility coming from those maps other than just like, finding range or view range in the atlas.
Alpine Ridge, Sinking Spire, Bluff.
Man, these maps look cool too. Bluff, that's sick.
And
that
Mesa.
Reminds me of PoE 1 map.
We've also redone the existing Lost Towers map to make playing there less boring.
Yeah, he's saying less boring. But
we're now also spawning more maps with bosses.
I was watching a video on this last night, and I forgot whose it was, but he made a great point that the silly pavilions or gazebos or whatever they are in the tower maps completely hinder your ability to see the incoming mob until you're like in their face. And like some of those mobs have like chaos damage stuff, or they'll just be like a room full of a myriad of ranged characters to just blast you upon entry, and it's really easy just to get like mobbed really quick walking into a blind room that way. So it's cool to see them address that issue and kind of take some of the player's visual acuity into account.
The rate was intended to be 1 in 4 maps, but in reality the rate was much lower due to some maps being unable to spawn bosses.
Boss maps.
We've increased the rate to compensate for this issue so that we can get the actually intended rate.
Mobbing and bossing.
We're also adding a new type of tablet that allows you to add bosses to your maps with
Hell
its own
yeah.
mod pool.
Hell yeah.
Strongboxes also needed some love. They now spawn monsters faster.
More boxes is sick. More bosses is where it's at. The focus on bosses in this in the sequel is so cool. I love the bosses. I think some of the boss fights are like highlights in the game now, as opposed to just being like gear checks and level checks. It's like legitimately, it's a legitimate like more than just gear check. It is actually like skill based. There's fun phasing to the bosses. The bosses are more than just like, you know, glorified models of the monsters. They really do feel like their own rad, unique experience, and it's cool as hell. So seeing them put more emphasis on bosses in the late game is cool AF. IMO BBQ.
Have a less annoying fog effect, and
Oh yeah, and of course strong boxes being more like the original Path of Exile one. Strong boxes where you like click on the box and the enemies pop up. The need for speed is real, y'all.
also receive changes to the timings and effects of the mods on them. Now, let's talk about visibility of effects. Many maps had too much clutter, preventing effects on the ground from rendering, causing you to be unable to see and dodge them. We've both changed the level of clutter on some maps and changed some effects to make sure that they are always visible. In addition,
that's good. That's good. That's good. I like the pretty of having a bunch of stuff on the ground, but I also understand that like visual clutter is an ongoing issue that Path of Exile has to address due to the nature of its existence, man. It's a big old ARPG looter, smasher, hack and slasher, man. So I do understand the need of cleaning up the visual clutter on the screen and having better representation of incoming and outgoing attacks and skills. That's pretty important. Good eye on the devs there.
elemental explosion effects have had visibility improved. Stick around for longer before they explode, and disappear without exploding if a rare monster dies. Volatile plants are also way easy to see before they
Alright, I gotta back that up.
improved. Stick around for longer before they addition, and has changed some effects to make sure that they are always visible. In addition, elemental explosion effects have had visibility improved. Stick around for longer before they explode, and disappear without exploding if a rare monster dies. Volatile plants are also way easy to see before they explode.
Okay, yeah, that's
Now,
nice.
we've also-
Volatile plants were brutal, man. Those things are brutal. It also looks like they're zooming out the atlas, which is really cool because one, the map zoom is way too close in the atlas, and man, I'm talking you can maybe only see like this much of a portion of the atlas at once in the most zoomed out setting that you can get in the atlas. So seeing them really just like open it up like that is cool. You get better path finding as a player that way and everything else. Two, the fucking atlas is so pretty, man. It is so pretty, dude. Like, I want to see this art. I want to look at it. I love maps. Maps are my jam, dude. So being able to see the atlas and see them represent, I believe this is a physical representation of Oriath, in this way is cool AF, my bros. Who wouldn't want to see more of this, man?
Also increased the zoom level on the atlas, done a pass on various terrain collision issues in many maps.
Yep,
We've
cool.
also
Cool. Terrain collision is terrain collision sucks sometimes, and you can get snagged up on things. That's why I like playing more open maps with my lightning arrow rangers, because I'm rolling and ducking and trying to find little avenues to squeak through all the time, and sometimes you do get hung up on stuff. Also, what do you see this? What I'm seeing here? I'm seeing 6 acts and then 3 more. I wonder what they're hiding from us, y'all. I wonder what they're hiding. I feel like we might be getting more content than they're alluding to here, everybody.
also improved the load times of opening the world map and atlas panel. And we also now show the biome improved the load times of opening the world map and atlas panel.
That's good too. Sometimes that does take a hot minute to load.
And we also now show the biome of a map on the hover for it.
Okay, yeah. The biome thing confused me too because there's some passives on the Atlas skill tree that affect the drop rates of certain items in maps depending on the biome related to the map, but there was no indication other than like your own like literary interpretation of what the map looked like for what biome it was. So them having some semantic clarity on that is nice.
For other in-game content systems, we're focusing on getting all the rewards in line with what they should be. For Delirium, we recently fixed a bug which caused Delirium monsters to just not spawn after the starting part. And we've also buffed the rate of simulacrums dropping by 20% to make it more in line with the rate of finding the expedition and ritual bosses.
Anytime we get more
For Ritual, we've made omens now appear in the Ritual tribute window 60% more often.
Sweet. Yeah, critical currency. That's the word I'm looking for. Dude, yeah, we need that stuff. And the more frequently it drops, the better. Because that's just going to continue to stimulate the game's economy into making and generating more items for the players to trade in the player-to-player trading economy, which doesn't even run on gold. It runs on in-game currency, which you use to make more items. And so by introducing currency more commonly, you allow this early access player base to really develop a valuable economy for the player base to kind of come into as the game evolves. And as the game evolves, you can also see like what players are capable of making with the new items that are going to drop, because we still have so many weapon types to see, which makes me believe that we're probably going to see a lot more weapon or item modifiers come out as well, just because we're going to begin to see new mechanics pop in as new weapons pop up. I think. I suspect. I hypothesize.
For Expedition, we've improved the rarity from the shops, but we'll be wanting to make some more substantial changes to the rewards for this league later on. Now, one of the major concerns that we're often seeing is that getting to play Pinnacle content just takes too long, and that when you do finally get there, you only get one attempt and don't get a chance to learn the boss. In order to address these concerns, we're making the following changes. First, we're making the Citadel spawn closer to the center of the Atlas, and we've also added an effect so you can see them in the fog of war from further away.
Very cool. I haven't done any Pinnacle bossing yet because I'm a scrub who has spent like 300 hours playing this game and hasn't even reached the very end game content. I also heard that originally it was hard to find Pinnacle Spires if you kind of expanded in a radius around your starting point on the Atlas, which is exactly what I did. I heard you were really supposed to just like hammer down and go in one direction and commit, and then you would bump into them more likely, because they didn't even start spawning until you reached a radius so far away from your starting point on the Atlas. So it's cool that they started spawning them closer, they reduced that radius, and that they also started like giving them indicators of where they are. All right, we're back up top here. I also see that we're back to having the original normal and cruel with no middle three acts. This leads me to suspect that we're probably either going to get the next 3 acts with the content patch that they're talking about, or yeah, I'm wagering we're probably going to get the next 3 acts with the big content patch they're talking about. And this this 1.1 patch is going to be pretty dope.
This makes them much easier to find.
But it's not going
To address the problem of only having one attempt, on the Arbiter of Ash you will now get up to 6 respawn attempts.
6 respawn attempts versus 1 is huge.
Respawns can only be triggered by the person who put in the keys, and everyone on your party will be respawned at the same time. Leaving the map still forfeits your attempt, so you'll still need to fight the boss with the build you walked into the map with.
That's fair.
Higher difficulties of the boss will lower the number of respawn attempts you get, but you should know the mechanics of the fight by then, right? Now, we'll also be adding respawns to other Pinnacle content as well over time. Another thing that players have noticed is that there are less keys from Faradin Citadels on the market, and thought that it was because the Citadel spawns less often. It turns out though that this is just because the boss kills players more often than the others. We've made a few changes to that boss to bring it in line with the other
Jamun
bosses.
Ra's hard.
A lot of people have reported that many of our unique items are feeling underwhelming. Uniques are often designed to be build enabling at high levels, even if they're low level uniques. But we realize that we do need to make sure that more uniques feel powerful when you first get them at low levels too. In this patch we are buffing...
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, these are pretty good. These are some alright upgrades.
a lot of uniques. These changes should make finding uniques at lower levels a lot more fun, and make some...
Yeah, let's look at this. Oh man, this is cool. Okay, I got one of those. Matsuya's got a little bit of a buff. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Subsequent character playthrough is more fun too, when you have some great uniques to use.
Those will be cool.
We're also changing a few other things to make finding rares better at higher levels too. First, we're changing mod weightings a bit to make sure that there are less bad mods. Another fix is making high tier items no longer cull the highest tier modifier of a given mod type. This bug caused bows and crossbows to not spawn with attack speed at tier 5 rarity, and rings to not spawn with life at tier 5 rarity.
Wow.
Another change we're making is to make it so that socketables such as runes can...
They're doing it. They're doing it. They're letting us change the runes. That's huge. I wonder if that means that you will be able to change the gems you socket in there, or your jewels, not gems, jewels that you socket in there as well. It'll probably consume the jewel, but that still gives you more versatility in the build. It also leads me to believe that, you know, I've been thinking that rune words were going to come in since I saw runes first pop up, and I still think they are. I think they're going to bring back, like, Diablo 2 rune word style item socketing. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how it's going to work, but deep in my gut and butt, I feel it.
now be overwritten with another socketable. Now, as we continue to play, we still find many balance anomalies with specific monsters or bosses that can be nasty if you encounter them. This patch contains a pass adjusting a large number of those monsters and bosses. We'll save the full list for the patch notes, but there are a significant number of changes here that should address many cases where monsters or bosses felt too hard in certain circumstances. Here are a few examples to get a taste of what kind of changes you can expect. The Silverfist Commander roll now does a lot less damage.
Okay.
Plague Bearer's Detonate Dead can no longer be used from off-screen and has better telegraphing.
That is nice. There has been more than one occasion where I've been hacking through monsters in Act 2 and just like gotten randomly fucking exploded by those things, or even on a map, and just like chalked it up to like, oh, I guess those monsters have a death effect that I didn't know about, when really I was being off-screened by a corpse detonator, which I guess that's how some monsters must feel when they fight me, because I'm off-screening a lot with my two main builds. But this is my play experience, not theirs.
Forsaken Miners throw less grenades, have improved visuals, and deal less damage. And Lost Men Zealots can no longer meteor you from off-screen either, as well as many other changes just like those. One of the big issues for players on consoles is that the web-based item filter system is currently not working. This means that they...
Yeah, man, players definitely need, or console players, excuse me. Console players definitely need something to help them navigate the the screen density complexity is a little bit more than just like an analog stick and a D-pad. Uh, there is some significant trash loot that gets just put on the ground that I'm guessing can kill you if you're playing with a controller. Um, but I'm not a controller player, so I don't know.
Can't use item filters like the PC users can. For 0.1.1, we'll be enabling the same system that PoE 1 has, which allows you to subscribe to item filters on the website. For now, this will be done on the PoE 1 website to allow us to get this feature out as fast as possible.
Just
Later on, we'll improve the user experience of this.
Triple G, just hire Neversync to do your loot filtering. Just make Neversync's loot filter your default loot filter. Just do it. Just do it. Like that's just how it should work. Just pay Neversync and let his loot filter be the PoE loot filter.
And put it on the Path of Exile 2 website. This patch also contains a bunch of other smaller changes and bug fixes that I'm sure you guys will appreciate, like buffing armor and scavenged plating,
Yeah, armor needs it.
showing the number of uses left in your charms, as well as an effect when they trigger,
That's cool.
The song of the exiles.
fixing the music that Una was supposed to play in town,
Una's loot. That's neat. Very cool.
and plenty of other little fixes and improvements throughout the game. Now, we have a huge amount of much more meta-shifting changes that we know we want to make. And one of the best things about having the game in early access with the endgame is that we now have a much better idea of where we want character power to be and what the balance of bosses and monsters should be relative to that.
Okay.
But those types of changes are going to have to wait until we are ready to make a new league with a new economy for people to play in.
Yeah, that kind of sucks to hear, but at the same time, like, he's right. If they're man, I appreciate them taking their time and actually being very considerate and what's the word I'm looking for right now? Deliberate with what they're changing. I think last year, 2024, we experienced a lot of like, man, it was the reactionary year to devs changing games. I think Helldivers 2 is a great example of that. Helldivers 2 had a great come up and then completely fell out and then shot right back up again with all of its balance changes. And it shows you how quickly a game can just totally screw over its player base and misunderstand. I don't want to say screw over, that's not the right term, but totally misunderstand the player base of their game and make it so that the people who are making the game succeed, the players, the consumers of it, don't want to be there anymore. And so I really appreciate Triple G's consideration and deliberation when it comes to changing everything. They're right. Wait till a league is over to introduce any big balance and meta shifting changes, because if everybody's deep in this league and they're doing it for prestige, especially because it's the first league, and Triple G goes and changes a bunch of the game's mechanics right off the bat, like, man, you would really be messing with people's time and money at that point. So the question is now, how long is the league going to be? Is it going to be a standard league? Is it going to be 13 weeks? Is it going to be 4? Is it going to be 6? Is it going to be forever? Who knows? I don't know. We still got 13 seconds left. Maybe he'll tell us.
That's still a little while away yet, but in the meantime, we'll be
Nope.
continuing to identify things that are causing frustration and try and address them. I want to thank you guys for playing and hope to be doing more of these in the future. Later.
Yep. All right, cool beans. Cool beans. That was rad.
Hi.
That was rad. Yeah, cool. It's good to see that Triple G's taking it seriously and that they want to get it right before moving on. I really like that mentality. Yeah, I just like that mentality. Get it done right before you pick something new up. Make sure the game is in the state they intend it to be in, and make sure that that state and the player base are copacetic. It's obvious that there are some critical issues with the game thus far. such as with armor and some of the I don't know some of the mace's effects in late game and end game. I know some people are saying that, Jonathan being one, that mace is fine through the campaign. I haven't played mace. I haven't played warrior, so I'm going to stay out of that argument. But I think that it's obvious that armor and two-handed maces need some attention. We'll see what else they do. I don't think anything needs nerfing. I think that's the right move. Don't nerf anything right now. This is a PvE game. Don't nerf PvE games, man. Players are having fun doing what they want. So bring everything else up to snuff with what, what is fun. The only things that should really be nerfed in PvE games are the mechanics that make it so that if you aren't incorporating them into every build, you are obviously losing out. The one I point to the most for that in relation to PoE would be Cast on Critical from Path of Exile 1. It got to a point where, like, if you weren't building around Cast on Critical, like, why wouldn't you make it so that when you use one skill and crit 90% of the times, you cast another skill? Like, why wouldn't you have it do that? That was obviously like something that needed to be nerfed, because no matter what you were playing, you built around cast on crit. You built around not only your primary skill, but what skill you were going to cast when you hit with your primary skill. So that did need to get nerfed. Still, yeah, I think it's really cool that they're focusing on fixing and buffing what's weak right now before they're going into any metamechanical or like ludo-mechanical change ups. So that's pretty cool. Otherwise, that I think this video is already running dang near a half an hour long. So if you really stuck around and listened to me yap about fucking Path of Exile for this long, you're a champ. I love you.